Yet we're just doing. Now we're live. Hey
Sounds
everybody.
good.
Hey, everybody.
How is
We are so
everybody?
back. We are so back.
I
What's
know. I'm
up?
like, I
What's
feel
up?
so bad that we're not doing so many of them, but all the
People miss
LP
us,
meetings are on Thursdays.
right? I know. I know. We have a new face. This is Jessica Green. Thank
Hello.
you
Hi,
for
guys.
scissoring with us tonight.
You're very
Yes.
welcome. It's not my usual repertoire to scissor, so
Mine either. Mine either. But
yeah.
it's a weekly. It's a weekly thing. Typically, just dabble just once a
Just a little dabble.
What just a
Right.
little dabble.
you
Yeah.
gotta you gotta try it to know if you like it, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You have to do everything once.
right.
So, thank you for being
Saint
with us.
Saint Michael
Appreciate it.
just gave us $5 over in Rumble. He said he knows you, Jess Green. Hi, friend. Trying to
Hi.
present.
He asked me to ask my priest a question like a month ago, and I forgot to do it. So sorry, bud. Sorry, but I will do it
Nice
because you just
reminder. Oh, here's
paid
Alice.
$5 to remind me to ask my priest that question. And I will do that. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yeah, St. Michael's great. Yeah, thanks for
Mhm.
coming on. I'm laughing because Hex was like, we need to get her on because you guys had Hex on when you're in Cam's show,
Yeah.
and then you're like, well, I can't do Sundays, and I'm like, well, you could do the girls' show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
So
No,
if
by
Hex
the
sees
time
it, sorry.
no, Hex is an awesome guest, and he was one of those people who's willing to talk about like hard topics. It's not, something that's on the beaten track. So I appreciate that about him a lot.
Yeah, because you guys were like asking questions about the Nation of Islam stuff, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
And
It's like,
especially
ooh, what? Tell me. It's like that.
but if it's something you grow up into, it's hard sometimes to talk about that kind of thing. And we've had a lot of different people on talking. We had Mormon compound people. We had all sorts of people that come from really disparate backgrounds that came on and talked about what is essentially a really sensitive part of their lives. So, although it's like, okay, that's really interesting to hear about, for them, they're exposing that like sensitive side of themselves. So I appreciated that a lot.
Oh, and I appreciate because you're Orthodox, is that what it's called?
Yep. Yeah,
And
Eastern Orthodox.
I've always appreciated, like, you've always been chill because I grew up in a very religious family. I'm obviously not, but like my sisters, they're not like weird about it, so I just always appreciate. And
yeah.
CD, obviously, CD, everyone who's watching in the chat, CD is now Mrs. CD, so she just got
Oh,
married.
congratulations.
Was
Many
it
years.
last week?
Thank you. Yeah, it was 2 Fridays ago. So it's been almost 2 weeks. Yeah,
Oh, brand new.
yes, we ran away to the courthouse and we didn't tell anybody and it's we definitely I was married previously and it was definitely not um a covenant with God, and that definitely was, it resulted in chaos. And I left the marriage in May of 2022, and
Mhm.
um, anyway, I ended up meeting Duke on Twitter, and
Yeah.
we are both, Christians and led by God, and that was very important to me and my next partner, that I was not going to be with someone that did not go to church. And when I found out he not only goes to church, he volunteers at church, I was like, okay, we can talk.
Yeah.
We can talk.
That
And then he moved me from Louisiana to Florida to be with him, and um, we decided and we just made the decision that we wanted our relationship to be blessed by God, and we understood that when you are living outside of His Word, even though we are both led by Jesus and we, consider ourselves very saved, we understood that we tie God's hands to bless our relationship when we live outside His Word. So we
Mm.
wanted to enter into covenant. That was very important to us, and so yeah, so we were like, we're gonna go get married. Like, let's just do this, and uh it's been blessings ever since, and I knew that. I was like,
Wow.
as soon as we
Glory to
do this,
God.
yeah, yes, amen. So
That's
no, so we are
amazing.
we're very, very thankful and very blessed. And you're Orthodox. I was raised Catholic, but not like Creaster Catholic. My
Hmm.
family, my family was, you know what I mean? Uh,
That comment is so that's very her too. That's a very
Yes.
her type
No, I
of
love
comment to
Eva.
make.
I love it. I love it. I was raised, well, not I wasn't raised, but I had members of my family, were Opus Dei Catholic, which
Okay.
is
Whoa,
a
that's like
whole
I
where like
have to
you beat
be
yourself, right? Like where you'd
straight
hurt
up.
yourself.
All I know about it is what I heard from the Dan Brown book.
Da
So
yeah,
Vinci
if
Code,
you
the
have
Da Vinci.
anything to add, now would be the time.
I don't, that is what it
Okay.
is, and so, I had an aunt
I'm
that
sorry.
would,
I don't mean
once it no, no, it's scary as
yeah.
hell, and it's like, as a
Yeah.
child, like, it is the scariest thing, that you can show a child. I
Mhm.
had
Mhm.
my aunt, we won't name names, she's deceased now, God bless her heart, she would once a year take hours of her life to, like you said, self-flagellate, and with a cardinal standing with her and praying. And
Whoa, buddy.
they would pray for our uh the souls in purgatory, our family's souls in purgatory. And we would pray rosaries outside of the room where we would have to hear this happening. And, it was, she's doing this for your family. She's doing this so that, if you end up in purgatory, when you end up in purgatory, because there's no way you can go to heaven,
Mm.
you are, you will, she's going to pray for your soul. And so we had to pray. It was like, that was like the most traumatic, like, I'll never, that's like an experience,
Sure.
like, I'll just like never. And I'm like, um, there's just no way that this is supposed this is supposed to go.
Mm.
I just knew that, this is, we're not supposed to hurt ourselves like this. I understand, sacrifice in different ways, but like, it just always seemed, and I'm like, why does no one else's aunt do this? You know what I mean? Like, no one else's aunt.
It, I will say it reminds me a lot of the flagellants during the plague times. We're talking all the way back in 1358 Europe. And
Yes.
the church official, and even in those times, and we're talking 1358 where stuff was different back then, a lot more intense. Um, that they condemned that behavior even then. So I that's interesting to me. I would wonder if that sort of behavior, which I can't imagine, I'm not Catholic, so I can't speak either
Yeah.
way, but
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
I can
Sure.
imagine that that behavior is condoned now by the church, let
It's
alone, the Church of 1358 was like, you probably shouldn't be doing that."
it was bizarre, and like I said, no one else's aunt. I'm like, you guys don't have your aunt do this, and it felt archaic at the time, but at the
Mm,
same time, we also had, like, hey Alice, we also had priests come to, like, my grandmother's home and give, like, mass in the living room in
mm,
Latin.
okay.
So it was like Vatican One, like, and so we did that till I was probably a teenager. So what, the mid 2000s, when eventually we stopped doing it in Latin.
Is
Um,
this how you did every Sunday? Like your church
not
experience
every,
was in your own house?
not every single one, but
Right.
definitely
Okay.
most Christmas Eves and people's birthdays. You would have mass. We'd have mass in the living room. And the same that same side of the family didn't take vacations, they took pilgrimages. So to Lourdes, Medjugorje, Rome, there was no, like, uh Guadalupe, there was no,
Hmm.
like, uh vacation. It was like, we're going to this place to go pray
Yeah.
where Mary appeared. And that, I mean, it was cool, but, like, it was never, like, to travel for nice things. It was to
Yeah.
go, and, so, yeah, so I I think Eastern Orthodox is amazing, and they also didn't close during COVID, so I was always rooting for, the Eastern Orthodox Church, like, you guys are heroes, and,
Oh, well.
I did, no, I was always rooting for you guys,
Yeah, I
because they
just climbed on board, so I probably shouldn't be taking credit for any of that stuff, but Thank you.
No, it's a beautiful,
Yeah. No,
beautiful. It's beautiful.
I
I
appreciate
like,
that. Yeah.
I love it, and I didn't end up going that route in my faith journey, but I have immense
Yeah.
respect for you guys, and every priest I've ever met is incredible and awesome and can just talk to people because they have lived life. They are not holier than thou. They are true lay people, and I just
Oh.
appreciate them. I just appreciate everyone I've ever met. I mean, that's like my person, but everyone I've ever met is just like so nice and so cool and down to earth and such a
Well,
breath of
keep
fresh air.
keep in mind anywhere that power gathers, and we're talking Eastern Orthodox Church, the Latin Catholic Church, the US government, wherever there are centers of power that gather, there are going to be a-holes that gather up into that, pinnacle.
Fair.
And, there's also people that just take stuff way too far. Like I belong to like an embroidery and cross stitch community on Facebook, and those people take things as intensely seriously as any religious cult I've ever seen in my life. It's just and I think that people would do that with any idea. They just grab onto something and they make it their entire identity. And woo, lad, you got to be careful about people who take an idea, straight to the personality like that. Because
Facebook
For
groups
sure.
especially get people acting real crazy,
oh,
real
right,
crazy.
right.
CD, I didn't know
And
that
I
about you, CD, because I've been talking like when the mask, I always saw the mask and the vaccines as self-flagellation in their religion almost. Like I remember talking
mm,
about that back then because it's like, you know, I don't
Like
know.
they're
That's
I
so,
martyrs almost or something.
oh,
and
thanks.
some Orthodox churches did close, depending on the priest. Some did, some didn't. I mean, there's such a variety of types of people. I really admired, for example, the Orthodox Jewish community in New York, who gathered in mass for their services despite warnings in New York, of all places, not to do that. That was really admirable to me. My tiny church, they closed down for a little while. They weren't sure in the beginning, like a lot of people, what was going on, and did what they thought was the most prudent thing to do. And my priest hated it, but he did what he thought was the best move, and I can't fault him for that. So I whenever we have these like large, broad examples of a community like Catholics or Orthodox or anything like that, just keep in mind that they're filled with so many different kinds of people. And a great example of how things can maybe go wrong and right at the same time within the Orthodox Church is there's a movie that came out recently in 2021 called Man of God about Saint Nectarios of Agana. And he was persecuted by his own church, meaning the Orthodox Church. And he is now considered a great saint of the Orthodox Church. So in one foul swoop, you have an example of within that insular community, someone being persecuted by their own community, and then later on being recognized to uphold the examples of that community. So sorry, that's kind of a rant about that. Whenever I mention that I'm Orthodox, instantaneously I get compared with Catholics a lot because that's the American experience. I'm not saying that you've done that. And it's always like, this is why I like the Orthodox because XYZ about Catholics. And I just want to really caution people about, you know, know that individual experiences vary everywhere and seats of power collect jerks.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
fair, Jessica. No, thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. And
Yeah.
I you're right. You're absolutely right. And
Yeah.
but I do think but
Thanks.
I do know the difference. And I think
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
really cool. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hi, Alice.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hey
Alice.
Alice.
Nothing.
Sorry, I was late.
You're
That's
fine.
okay. That's okay. That's okay. What's
We
going
dive
on?
right into religious talk, which I always love religious talk anyways. It's like because I like
I always
talking
think it's
about it and
interesting.
people haven't been able to talk about it for so long, and I've always been able, with my upbringing and not believing and whatever, like I've always been able just to talk about it, and everyone's
I
so
spent
different.
I spent 10 years of my life as a virulent, militant anti-theist. I was very angry at God, very angry at the church, and very angry at anybody who believed for any reason. And so sort of like my process in unwinding all of my own anger, I was forced in a lot of ways to learn to sort of accept people for where they are in their journey, because I stood at some very different places on my road than I am right now. And so, I kind of go, okay, this person is this way now, but what are they going to be like down the road? What might they learn when they bump into all the different kinds of things that they're going to bump into on their path? And I'm in the Orthodox Church. I was a virulent atheist, and now I take communion every Sunday. And that boggles my mind. I often don't know why that happened. Like, people will ask me, well, hey, did you get in a car accident? Did your mom get cancer? Is there a reason? Like, I don't know, dude. I honestly don't know. And sometimes when I'm in there, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even know how I got here. And I'm a very go with the flow, see where the ride takes me kind of person. So that's where I am. And who knows where I'm going to be 20 years down the line. I'm just here for the ride, man.
Well, like,
That's
if you
awesome.
believe something, you believe something. I feel like you can't, like, your heart believes it. So,
That's it.
yeah.
You
Totally.
mean you can't force them to change? That's
What?
weird. You can't force people to change.
Yeah, you can't force people to change or believe differently,
That's wild.
So I'm turning your mic.
It
You're
involved
echoing now.
eating.
I was turning you up. Sorry,
Am I
guys.
too low?
No,
Or
you're
am
good
I-
now.
am I- okay. Usually it's closer, but
Oh, you're good. It was echoing a
we
little.
don't need to see me too up close today. Fucked up my hair. Don't got the makeup on.
You're all good.
I know.
I'm just glad we were able to
But,
get
yeah,
a Thursday night in, man. It's
Me
been
too.
great. We say hey to everyone in the
It's
chat.
been-
Let's see. First,
Hey,
Sam,
everyone.
Sam, St. Michael, Paul, Amit was here earlier, Daniel,
Aw.
Stoner, Nina.
Stoner,
I get to see
hey.
Nina on Sunday. Texas Ranger. Joe was here earlier. Yeah, that's it.
Speaking of pockets of power, or however Jessica eloquently put that, tell us about your speech the other day.
Mine last night.
Yeah.
It was good. It was so it's Liberty on the Rocks, which is a fun group that gets together. They're not technically libertarian, but it's just, a lot of different people get together. They have like real speakers come in and stuff every now and then. And so my friend Josh, who runs it, even like a year and a half ago, he asked me, and I'm like, no, dude, I don't not public speak. I Twitter. Like, that's you can control your attention online, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I get up, and everyone knows I would literally rather just stand there naked than have to talk. I do not like it. But now in my next like, era in life, I kind of have to get good at it. So it was a good time to do that. It was a lot of friends. And I basically kind of just went over like my Twitter journey a little bit and like how crazy it's been and the magic of Twitter and shit posting, which is so funny because I was like literally talking about shit posting to people in person. We were having a great time. And then I come home and listen to the madness last night with all those stupid idiots who were like they're just online basically and paid.
It
And all
was
this. I'm
so funny to listen to that because
I only heard the end of it. It was like, what?
I started listening when I was getting ready for bed, and I'm like, oh shit, this is kind of funny. Like it was making me laugh in a way that I don't think they intended for me to laugh. But I'm like, and I knew Jess was out there doing that yesterday, and I'm like, and like it's not that I don't understand everybody's point of view. I am all for having discussions, but I'm like, here's Jess out there like actually doing the work and out there doing stuff, and you guys are just like like the men are just, and I just had to laugh. And like, there were great points made up, but so much of it was like that Jeremy dude being like,
oh my gosh,
why is it always about race? And Dave would be like, okay, once again. And then there was a point where Jeremy Kaufman called Dave Smith a bitch.
Yeah, I heard that.
I heard that
Oh my
clip
God.
for sure.
So and Dave Smith's like, see, you are not understanding men, because if we were standing in a room together, then we have to fist fight.
Yeah, it was
I
silly.
challenge you to a duel.
Totally get
Walk
what
3
he's
steps
saying, 'cause
backwards and
Adam,
turn around.
like Adam says that shit all the time. You know, he's like, so many people like say shit online and stuff that they wouldn't say to somebody's face, but I'm just like, this is not a productive conversation. It's entertaining me, but it's not productive. But it really
Yeah.
entertained me for quite a while.
I know. I listened to the end of it once I got home because I was like, it is kind of funny. It was funny. So, but yeah, it is. And that's, you guys saw my post today. And so like, I'm just trying to make the like, and I'm not paid at all. And I'm getting people to show up at county meetings every time we have a county meeting. I go to all the different county meetings, and whether you believe in the libertarian or political process or anything, but like people are showing up and I'm not getting paid for it like some of these influencers are and stuff. And it's like, I'm so thankful to be in Colorado because we are a tight knit group. We are killing it out here. We basically
and
like,
you guys are growing. You said,
yeah,
right?
we're like,
You guys are growing.
even our MC group, we kind of like do our own MC thing. We're not necessarily part of the whole. And then obviously like national, I've been like, what's the point of fucking national anyways? Like, so it's kind of just been fun to be out here. And then I was talking to the guys today. I'm like, now we really got to go hard just to rub it in all these fuckers' faces. Cause like, it's just no, but it's good. And and even, I don't know if you guys saw when I was on Kyle, even Kyle noticed. He's like, you're doing the local thing. Why are they talking about you? And I'm like, I'm crazy, which I get, but still, like, so whatever. We're just doing our thing out here, and that's all we can do. And we're fighting for liberty in our state because the state is what's important. National
That's
isn't,
what's important.
so.
Exactly. That is
Yeah,
exactly
like
what's important.
I get the stuff about messaging because, like, my friend, she's apolitical. Like, she does not pay attention to politics. And so I get that good messaging is important. I'm just not sure if it's important enough for a 3-hour space on Twitter. You know, and
Whatever.
I get it. Like, my friend, like, I tried it because she's one of those like libertarian and doesn't know it type. And she just calls out fucked up shit when she sees it. And honestly, the person that I send her the most stuff of is either Spike Cohen or Ron Paul. Like, they just and I hate to say it, but they're not really controversial people. And that's why I send her stuff from them, because I don't want to scare her away and be like, man, this is what these people think. Like, this is how they act. That's fucked up. So I get messaging, but
there's two parts of it. They have to be able to take criticism. Everyone has to be able to take criticism, right? But also people need to stop, because I just shared a thing with Spike where he was talking to city council again about the thing he's been fighting for. And I'm like, people will share what they're mad about the messaging. They'll share that more than this, which is actual action and what we're doing. And they won't share that as much. So it's like,
which is one of the reasons I love Spike, and I think he should be the presidential nomination, because he actually gets out there. He meets with just everyday people when he goes to whatever he's going. He came to Ohio to meet with a family and do a protest with them, you know, and sat there and had a conversation with them. He wasn't like, well, I'm smarter than you because I'm libertarian and you're a fucking idiot and you're this and you're that, and you know, and that's why, like, I get the messaging thing, but
so I'm gonna have to disagree, guys. I think that if I tune into a space and no one's yelling, I've got about 3 minutes of interest time, and then I'm out of there.
It was entertaining, yeah.
There was some yelling that happened, and there was a lot of like,
I need yelling.
If grown men aren't calling each other bitches, I'm out. Dude, Jessica has a good point. Yes, because now they set the bar so high that if I log in and I don't hear that, you're right. I'm like, this is boring as fuck. I'm out.
Give the people what they want.
It was it is what it is at that level, and those people, like, it is what it is. You know, we've all talked about that a lot. That
if we're not running our elections like American gladiators by the end of this decade, I'm really going to be disappointed in the political process at that
I
point.
said that all the time, Jessica. I said it all the time. I want death by gladiator fights, duels. I need violence. I need violence in
Pistols
my
at Dawn.
Yes.
Bring it back.
Yes.
No, I'm fine
Bring
with them using the foam.
Mm.
You could still use the foam because a guy like Joe
Fine.
Biden at least would be knocked out even by the foam. You could eliminate a lot of who is in office
Fair.
currently using, I don't know what his name was,
Like,
Turbo. And it was like a Gatling something. They would hit each other. Anyway, a lot of those people wouldn't. You have to at least stand up to being hit by the foam tube, and then you
I
can
would
run for
love
office.
that. At Bible
Yeah.
camp, we would do those kind of games all the time, and I was like, I love that. I was so good at it. I was kicking everyone's ass. So yeah, I would do
If
that
you
for real.
can't survive being lumberjacked in the face by a pool noodle, you can't run for office.
True. That's true.
Period.
It's true.
New
This is a system. I'm trying to help you.
New FEC requirements.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of that pledge that I didn't sign, it's like a pledge to like kick ass. They're like, you have to like battle and all this stuff.
Or get your ass kicked. One way or the other. One way or the other. Noodles are involved.
I'm down.
There is at least a meritocracy involved in that you have to stand up to being hit in the face by something. That is better than what we have now.
They
Who
can't
got hit in the face
Sumter,
with the
you know what I
shoe?
mean?
Which president was it? That was George W., right?
Yeah.
Yes.
At least
He
took a
dodged that shoe.
right?
They caned old Sumter. Y'all remember that? They were the senator from South Carolina or whatever it was, the caning of Sumter. Yeah, when they got mad, they had them brothers that they had them dudes stand outside with pistols, and they just went to whacking that dude, and he was screaming and hollering, and they were like, we got to get in there, and them dudes with pistols were like, nah, man, business is going on. They know what they're doing, and it's like, bro, that was in the same room as where they go now. I don't think so. I think this is the new one. But you know what I mean. But you know what I mean.
We need more corporal punishment for adults for sure. Like I think that because I feel better. I'm on the fence with corporal punishment with kids. That's why I didn't. That was a big thing with me. And so it's like, but with adults, no problem. There's no problem with adults. They're over 18. Beat them when they need it. But like the way where you're like, this hurts me more than it hurts you, and like, do the whole thing.
I support reinstating beatings.
Yeah, that's I agree. Especially the men. And they calling each other bitches online. I want to see.
What's so funny is how some of these men will be like, why can't you act like women from the 50s and 40s and stuff? And it's like, you know what? My dad and the men in my family never referred to women as bitches, hoes. Like, even if they may have thought that they were unpleasant, like they weren't like out there saying this stuff. So it's like, why don't you act that way either? So yeah,
they called women unsavory. That was the insult. She's unsavory, and that is. I'll take that.
Of course, my mom said dumb broad a lot, but my dad never, he didn't talk like that because you would get fucking whooped if you talk that way back.
If you cursed in front of girls, if you cursed in front of a woman, it was like there are ladies present. Retards.
You just gotta you just gotta bring a little modernity to it. Thank you. To make relationships work nowadays. I mean, Adam doesn't call me a bitch or a hoe, but
because he would be a beat
sometimes
in the right context.
Yeah, when it's fun.
I mean,
as I don't remember. As I have said before on other streams, patriarchy is only fun in the bedroom. That's the only time it's really fun.
I don't know who said it, but there's a great quote that I love that says, I never hit a woman unless she asks for it. And I think that is not a reference to her mouthing off. I think that's a reference to in the boudoir.
That's true.
There's a consent aspect there.
Yeah, exactly. And half of them
Exactly.
still
But
won't.
I
Half
think
of them still won't do it. They still won't do it, and I'm like, oh, that's polite. That's nice. I won't do it.
Rightly so.
Yeah.
Watch your six, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
An
saying.
interesting story on his stream about beating women. And I was like, I feel like this should be private, but okay, let's keep going.
Who was saying it? Who was it?
Oh, he was talking about some girlfriend that he had that wanted to be like beat and he couldn't do it. And
It
I'm just, like,
happens.
part of me is like, that's because you're a nice guy. Like, I mean, like a little spank here and there, like okay, okay, but this was like, like abuse. And Paul's like going on and on about this story, and I'm like, we should not be live right now.
There is, whoa, he's right. There's a difference between fun spanking and like not fun spanking, and it's
And there
wise
has
to
be
know.
something a little off there if you want to be punched in
toe?
the face.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I-
That's what I'm gonna have to
Edie,
explain.
yeah.
What day are you on?
30 9
No way.
or 40 almost. Yeah,
That's
I think I'm almost.
crazy.
Yeah, so
What
yeah,
did you
last
quit
Tuesday,
or start?
I am I quit alcohol and marijuana, or all substances. I am all substances, but my substances of choice were alcohol and marijuana. And as I've told 100 people, a bunch of people, a couple hundred people at this point, for the better part of 15 years, I didn't take a shit without getting high. And so, when people are like, how many times a day did you use? And I'm like, well, how many times a day do you breathe? Because that's about the whole time I was high.
Should
And
not
then
be laughing at this.
Me and Alice are like,
so I developed, I've never had a good relationship with alcohol, but it really devolved about 7 or 8 years ago, when I couldn't get high anymore. So I would binge drink 10 to 15 times a month to
Ooh.
feel high. And so
Okay.
I wasn't an alcoholic that would sit here and drink every day, all day. I never devolved into that, but I definitely can admit that I had a binge drinking problem. So if there was a bottle of wine open, the bottle of wine was getting finished. And if there was cocktails, there were 5. If there were beers, there were 6. However many's in the case, it's what we're drinking until I pass out or whatever. And so
what day are you on now?
it is 39. It is. Duke says 39 too. He said at first 37, but then he goes, no, it's 39. So he tried.
Right.
I think it's 39.
Okay.
Yeah. Last 2. Yeah. So I'm really proud. It's been
should be.
It's been a lot.
That's awesome.
And I am. Yeah, I did it, and I'm doing it. I'm not looking back. Like I'm not, and I'm happy. I've done all kind of things now sober, which is pretty cool. I went on so I live in Florida, and we have these beautiful springs, and you can go tubing or like float down it. Yeah, you've seen that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I've done that like all my life. Being in Louisiana, we would go to Texas and float in Texas every summer, and I've like never been sober doing that one way or the other. And this was my first trip, went on it this weekend sober. And so like that was a big like, all right. Like I left and I wasn't like wasted and sick, and I was I felt good. I was like, it feels good to be eating, not to sober up, but because I'm actually hungry.
Yeah.
So
there's something about floating down the river in a tube that invites massive alcohol consumption.
You just keep drinking.
I've never gotten out of one of those tubes sober. Never once in my life.
It was I was so proud. Like I was like, that was like a milestone. Like that was like a thing for me. Like I went a few weeks back, I went bar hopping with girlfriends, and I didn't drink, but I've like, they know like this. So like this right here is one of my favorite cocktails is an Aperol Spritz. And I have found non-alcoholic Aperol so I can
Okay.
still enjoy the
So
spritz
I
and
was gonna
not.
ask you, what is it like when you're having a temptation? What are some of your coping mechanisms that you use to kind of deal with your temptations?
100% prayer.
Right on.
100%. Number
Right
one,
on.
100%. The devil has no new tricks. He tempted Jesus the exact same way he tempts me. He tempts me with my identity. He tempts me with riches. What I say,
Duke says you
so
beat Duke. Duke says you
and
beat him.
he tells everyone that I beat him. I do not beat him. I will
You
beat him. I
should.
will
Maybe
beat
he
him.
wants you to beat
And
him.
so that's a whole different conversation, Jessica. Uh, um, but I really do go back to that story, the Jesus in the desert, and just believe that like the devil. This is the devil lying to me. I was an addict. I was addicted to numbing myself.
Mm,
So I would feel something big, small, good, bad, and feeling too much of anything led me to numb it. I was
mm,
raised, don't feel too much, don't get too excited, don't be emotional. You need to keep your emotions completely in check all the time. So, but
yeah.
I have big emotions. I'm a big personality and I feel really hard whenever I feel. And like, um, I just numbed that. And
Yeah.
that's what I was addicted to doing. So you could put any drug in front of me, I would do it because
Yeah.
I was addicted to numbing. But my two drugs of choice were marijuana and alcohol. Um, so my is prayer. It is truly. My day 20 so far was my hardest day. I just had some like life stuff, and um man, I cried for 4 hours straight, like just bawled my
Oh
freaking
man.
eyes out, and like
No.
I wanted to use really bad, and like I heard every single lie the devil's ever told me, and I was like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not
Yeah.
listening to you, I'm not listening to you. And you don't get to you my soul doesn't belong to you. You don't get my thoughts, you don't get my mind. You don't get it anymore, and I'm not giving it to you. And so like seriously, like Jesus, prayer, like that, the story in the desert, like just like reading that over and over and
Yeah.
over again. And so so yeah, that's really it. I mean, I've got a great sponsor. When I decided to do this, I set up a support system. I didn't just willy-nilly, like I was like, I'm going to meetings on this day
Right.
and this day. I have church. I'm in church every other day. I have an entire Twitter community that I was honest with and told them this is what I'm doing. They gave me their phone numbers. We've never met in real life, and they were like, "You call me." I've got people here that support me 100%. Duke
Mm-hmm.
has gotten sober in the process. He's sober with me, so I have that. I have met sober friends. So like I just went all in. Like I was like, I am laying this down. This is not my cross anymore, and I'm not gonna carry it. And the devil doesn't get my soul. I'm not giving it to him anymore. And
That's
so
awesome.
yeah. So like that's it. I just fully rely on God, fully rely on Jesus. And I remember that Jesus lived a sinless life, but he was tempted in every way that I am.
Mm,
And to walk with him is to reject that. And I don't want, if it's not of God, I don't want it. And
mm-hmm.
that sounds
Mm-hmm.
preachy. And I'm sorry to the chat. Sorry, y'all got off on a tangent, but like, I just, if it's not of God, I don't want it. And,
You know, I never find it preachy when someone talks about how religion has affected them. When it's your own personal experience, then it's not, you're not preaching out. You're just talking about what you're going through. And that's cool.
well, thank you, Jessica. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm normally not one to like, but I know I, I couldn't do this without it. I can
Yeah.
tell you that. Like when they say like you can't do this alone, they don't mean to like have like 15 people around you all the time, because that's called codependency, and that in of itself is an addiction. So like it's not about like just
Yeah.
keeping myself surrounded. It's about doing this with Jesus, walking with Jesus, relying on him, going to him, screaming, crying, whatever. He just wants you to talk to him, right? So like just going to him, and then relearning how to do things sober.
Right.
Learning
Right.
how to, what do I do with my hands, right? It's like all new addicts. They're like, what do I do with my hands if I'm not drinking, smoke, whatever your thing is? So it's learning I can do all these things. I can read
Right.
that book. I love books. I love to read. I have 5 right now. I'm like, why didn't I finish one for 7 years? You know what I mean? Like, I used to
Yeah.
read all the
Yeah.
time. Like, what it's like, well, because I was doing other things with my hands. And it's learning also how to
Mm.
be still. So not like I don't want to be an addict that goes into sobriety and immediately just goes to like where church becomes my thing or exercise or what, like, no, like we're learning how to moderate. I'm
Right.
gonna learn how to do good things that are good for me, but also learn how to be still.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's okay to not be doing. It's okay to just be still. And learning how to do that. And be still, and like I said, and being still leads to prayer. So if I'm still,
Mm.
I'm praying. Like if I'm still, it's like, hey, I come to you humbly and I'm here and I love you and thank you for being here. And then my mind will just go on. But like if I'm in stillness, I go to Jesus. And like I'm retraining my brain to not even think about a bowl, not even thinking about a drink, not thinking about,
Mm.
and like day 39 is a lot easier than day 20, and hopefully day 60 will be easier. But that's what I'm really working on, is like rewiring myself to be
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
Jesus in the times that I would have been high. And I was high all the time. So, so like
Whenever I listen to the stories of people who talk about walking away from drugs and sort of that beginning part of their journey, I'm reminded very much of the desert ascetics, like the monks who would carry themselves deep, deep, deep out into the desert, far away from food and water, and probably into some pretty dangerous territory, like as far as exposure and animals goes. And they would do that just sort of like to strip themselves of all their material comforts because your flesh struggles against your spirit. And this is a gargantuan thought that I'm not quite, I haven't fit all the way into my brain yet, but when I hear these stories, they remind me a lot of people who have taken that undertaking. So you've struggled against your flesh, and I think that there's great spiritual gain to be had by that. And
very
so I
much.
applaud you, and
Thank you.
and I'll pray for you, and I hope
Thank you.
for all your strength on this journey that you're going through.
Thank you. No, I need it. I appreciate it. I feel it. I have a whole I like I couldn't do it without it. I could not do this and be as successful and be as happy and joyful,
Mm,
learning
mhm.
learning joy and what that is, and true happy in the moment,
Yeah.
present, just and not letting go of that and being able to be like, wow, this is such a cool moment. Like, and then that I couldn't do that without prayer. I couldn't do that without my own prayer, and I could not do that without people sent just flooding me with the Holy Spirit, like just
Mm,
constantly, like I know and I feel that when people, and I feel it strongly. So thank you. I need it.
yeah.
Thank you. And I
Hallelujah.
could not do this without without people and their prayers and their faithfulness and their listening to me. Just like, you know, uh so no, so thank you. And it is a stripping. It is a stripping. And I am
Mhm.
so thankful to leave it. Um
Yeah.
I to just lay it at the cross, to just lay it down and just be done. I pray every day, God, please, I want the thought of drinking to feel like poison to my mouth. I want the thought of
Mm,
I want you to take this taste from me. I don't ever want to think about drinking wine and be like, wow, that sounds like a good idea. I want that to feel like poison to my body. So I'm
mm,
so I and that's what I lay down. Like, please take this taste from me. Take it, replace it. Because it's poison. It's poison to me. I'm not saying it's poison to anyone else. Lots of people can just drink and be good with it. I can't. It is poison to me, and it's poison to my spirit.
mm,
And so I can
mhm,
recognize that and pray that the thought of it feels poisonous to
mhm,
me. So
mhm.
I have and it's happening. I mean, it's happening now. Like, I mean, I drink non-alcoholic beer. I love non-alcoholic beer because I like beer. and it's okay that it doesn't
Oh, I
get me
love
drunk.
beer.
I
beer
love
too.
beer. I love
Yeah.
beer. And so I drink, I told everyone on here, Heineken Zero tastes better than Heineken. And it's, I don't miss, a lot of people can't drink it because it makes them feel like they want to drink a real beer. And I get that. For me, I just like the taste. I just
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy the flavor. So,
Right, right.
I found all kind of NA vodka. NA, it's got, so where you can still make a margarita, you just don't get drunk. And I love that.
Which is
I
good
love
because
that.
I always drink them so fast and then I end up throwing them up anyways. So
I was you. I was you,
Just such
FM.
a
I was
waste of
you.
money.
I know
Yes,
that's like when you say poison, it's like it literally feels like poison when you're fucking drunk and like throwing up or like
and
it
I wake
is.
up sick. Wake up
Yeah,
sick.
ruin
Wake
a
up.
day, ruin half your
Yeah.
day.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just got to the point where like I was waking up sick and more anxious than when I went to bed. I was I was like I was and so I just like I said this is a long time coming, and you know, God just said, you can't move forward in your life and you can't mature in your life if you don't put this down. You've got to put it down. And he was right. And he's right. And like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I got married, like the blessings in my life since I got sober. Like I
Yay.
cannot, like it's because I'm sober. Um, I passed my ELA 6 through 12 teacher certification exam first time, hardly any studying, and I know that's because I was sober. It's because I walked into that test sober, and I was like a minor in English, so it's not like English is hard for me. But
Right.
but I know because if I wasn't sober, I'd have walked in high. And then I gotten real
Mm.
anxious and I would have failed because I'd overthought every single question and I wouldn't have been confident. I would have put my confidence in a substance instead
Ugh.
of putting it in myself and my brain. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I totally attribute that. I got in the car and I was like, holy shit, I passed. Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I'm gonna, it's 30 minutes at a time. Sometimes it is literally
Yeah.
30 minutes, not even a day at a time. Not, it is 30 minutes at a time. And there's 48, 30 minutes in a day. And if you can just 30 minutes your way. And I don't mean this for everyone. I don't mean that. I mean this in a very, very general sense. I'm not
Mm.
suggesting anyone gets sober. That's on you. And
You
with
come
you,
across so preachy, CD. You're so pushy.
no, no, don't
I'm
tell me
just
that. I'm like,
kidding. You're not. You're just sharing your suggestions and what's helped
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would never suggest. I would never suggest that. But for if if you are doing this, it is for me. It is 30 minutes at a time, and
Mm.
sometimes I go 2 hours, and it's like, wow, 2 hours just went by. I didn't even think about it. And then there are times when it's like, Jesus, dear Jesus, I come to you humbly, crying. So no, I am but
Yeah.
I am so thankful for this beautiful support system I have, and for these women that check on me every other day and make sure that I'm good. And I just have all this family and all this love, and I love my recovery group at church. I lean on them really hard, and it's been a beautiful almost
I've
month and a half.
noticed the change in you already, and I mean, like, I didn't know. I mean, the only time we really hung out was on streams. I don't know what you're doing with the rest of your time, I don't know, but I can already see the change in you
Mm.
since you quit. And I do, like, I don't, like, I want you to know, and this will be live and everybody sees it, the fact that I'll text you, how are you doing, how's your week, how's it going, you always take the time to ask about Scar, and that means so much to me, that, like, even with everything you're going through, like, you still think about my preteen daughter who's about to be 13, not even preteen anymore.
Aw.
Oh, well, I love you and your daughter and your whole family, and I care so much about Scarlett. Oh my God, I care so much about her, and
She's a great kid, man. She's a great kid.
she is a great kid,
Really.
and she has a light, and I just want it to shine because she's just so good, and she has so much potential even at 13 years old. My God. And I just love her, and I just love her from afar, and I just want her to just shine so bright because she can. And don't fall into CD's wicked ways when she was 13. Do better.
Yeah, I tell her all the time she's already a better kid than I was at her age. She definitely
I
rebels in any way she can. She definitely rebels, but I also take into consideration she's my kid and she's Adam's kid. So there's just gonna be a natural rebellion. I'm just trying more and more to be gear that towards government. Like take all this and just hate the government.
Yes. Yes. I love it. So no, I will always ask, and thank you for those kind words. That's so nice. And I very much feel lighter. I very much feel better. I feel like myself. I feel like I was always afraid to feel like myself because feeling myself was what I was
I
just
can,
told that it was
yeah,
just like a
it
lot. And
definitely shows.
but like I
Mm.
am good like this, and I don't have to dwindle my light. I can shine, and it's not too much, and it's not a lot, and it's not impeding on anyone. It is just who I am, and I am
Mhm.
okay with who I am. So um I had to learn that. I'm learning that part, and saying it out loud helps, and affirming that I am okay as this person, and I don't have to be what I thought drugs and alcohol, what weed and alcohol would make me. I am that person
Mm.
without it. So, hey, Adam,
Mhm.
I did not mean to hijack this stream, y'all. I am so sorry.
It's a
You're
Um,
good.
blessings
You're
kind of
good.
stream tonight. It's all
oh,
blessings.
it is.
There's been
So
It's
some
such
what?
a good
people
thing to
on
talk
Twitter I
about.
follow right now. I don't even know who they are, but they're always like, "Thank you, God, blessings." And I'm like, they make me feel like sweet. Like they're just like these sweet little accounts, They're dudes, I'm pretty sure, but they're just always like the TYG. I'm like, oh, I like that. I like the TYG. It's sweet. It's almost like good morning for thank you, God.
Yes, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I love it, and
Oh,
that's my big
here comes Thick Adam.
is oh hey, um you know uh I'm big on that, just like constantly thanking him, even when it's tough. Just thank you for this, thank you for
But even
this.
just like whether you believe in God or not, when your gratitude is
Yes,
such a driving force of a good like when you're grateful.
That's
I think
right.
that's why my life, like even with all the bullshit that's happened to me and all the hate and stuff, it's like I still am able to like someone asked me last night in the talk and they're like, how do you deal with all the hate? And I'm like, well, firstly, I'm hot. Okay, so that's but then like yeah, I just feel like when you know what you have, when you know what you are, and I mean I'm someone who probably should be sober too. I'm not saying I know myself perfectly, right? But like you know what you're doing, and the gratitude stuff is just huge. And that's something so many people don't have. That's like all the commies. They have no gratitude for anything, and that's why they're so stuck
Mm.
in like mindset, and it just helps so much to be thankful. I don't know why people aren't thankful. It's crazy.
yes, and even when it's tough, even
Yeah,
it's like a
especially
practice. That's why you practice it when it's good, because and like I said, I'm not saying suggesting, like you said, like suggesting like thank you, God, but just like remembering your blessings, that like
Mm.
there you have. Did you wake up and shower with hot water this morning? Because a whole bunch
No,
of people didn't.
actually, I didn't. But thanks for rubbing it in,
but
Susan.
Okay. Did you wake up with feet?
you could.
Okay.
You could. It was just probably something was broke, so you couldn't, but you could.
But like, did you wake up with feet? Did you wake up with legs? Because a lot of people
On
don't
this
have
side of
either.
grass. We woke up
Yeah.
on this side of grass, and there's been plenty of times where I've gone to bed screwed up on stuff, and it was like, you never know.
Mm.
I know so many
Mhm.
people who, and I don't know so many people, but I know people who know people where it was just like benzos and alcohol, and they were just, they didn't kill themselves, but they died. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just,
Right.
you never know what can happen.
So yes,
So
you never know what can happen. So you woke up breathing. There's air
Right.
in your lungs. Amen. And then you go through it until it's like, no more anxious. Like, you don't have to stay in a state of anxiousness when you remember all the good things. And like, fear is a lie. It is a lie. It's an illusion. It's not real. And like, hey, Brody.
Brody's
And like,
my dude in real life too. He's great. He's
oh,
been coming out to stuff. He's great.
oh, awesome. Hey. But that's like my big thing, because I'm like a real anxious person, and like I have had to deal with the anxiety. No SSRIs, no nothing.
We're raw dog. Well, I'm
Yeah.
not sober. I'm not totally raw dogging it, but yeah, I haven't. We're raw dogging it on those kind of drugs.
So having to, and just like, what is real? What is real? Like, for what is real, what is not? What can I control? What can I give up? What do I need to worry about? What, and a whole bunch of shit I don't. A whole bunch of shit I don't. And so, I am just constantly thankful. Constantly thankful. And I'm not, and I will get preachy on that. People should be grateful. Like I said, you don't have to be grateful to it. You don't have to be higher powered. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying, remember what you have. And if you worked for it, you worked really hard for it, good. Be thankful you have the brain and the capacity to do that.
I was telling a friend of mine on the phone yesterday that if you took a person from the medieval era and you dropped him in the entryway of a Walmart, they would probably think they were in heaven. Because there would be flooding with bright light. It would be clean. There would be music coming from the ceiling and piles of food and beautiful textiles everywhere the eye can see. To them, they would think it was paradise. And we walk in and we think it's the most mundane, horrible place to be in the world, in the entryway of a Walmart. So we, perspective, right? Like, human beings, I mean, most people only learned to read the written word like 100 years ago. Most people, like common people, and even really learned people for the most part weren't 500 years ago. I mean, it's just not something. All of this is new. It's brand new, and we don't know what we're doing with it yet. And then you've added the internet to it, and now we can communicate instantaneously across the globe, across disparate cultures. We're going to war, baby.
Yes.
We have some scores to settle. We have some dominance issues to work out, and somebody's got to come out on top. So, strap onto anything that gives you a base for reality that you think is solid, because everything that we know as a society is about to get real unsolid. And take what you can while you can, and grab onto it and have an anchor, because you're going to need it.
Amen.
Armed Ape in the Rumble says, well, that's because middle-aged people didn't see people of Walmart. Just kidding. But even that would be so crazy to them. That would be like, holy cow, these people are fat. Like,
to see so many obese people, you would think that this was filled with lords, like really well-off lords and barons were walking around in flip-flops for some reason.
Lots of really tight and small leggings that don't fit right. And
we would find they have the way that they would look would be so healthy by comparison, I'm sure. Like having all your teeth and both of your eyes, all these things. It's just,
fingers.
A little perspective.
Can you imagine
most of your children?
Can you imagine teeth issues? Because I've had a lot of teeth issues, and I'm like, how did they deal with this back? Which maybe some of modern stuff has made more issues on its own, right? There can be that aspect, but it's like, what did they do when they had like an abscess tooth? Like, that's the worst thing in the world.
And you've had consistent nutrition all the way through your childhood. Most of us have. Your bones were able to get to the length that they were able to get to because of consistent nutrition. And you look at parts of the world, the average North Korean is a couple of inches shorter than the average South Korean. And it's just because of consistent nutrition preventing your bones and your teeth and your vision and all that stuff from developing. So just having access to calcium in childhood, and we're so ungrateful for the prosperity. And so I'm not saying that people don't have problems even in a land of prosperity, but all of this pile of shit the stuff that we have that makes our lives so fucking easy also makes us complain about stuff that really isn't a problem, isn't actually an issue. And, you know, I think that maybe a little perspective about how most of human beings lived their history for most of their lives would help with that. And I'm not a history booster because I think that everybody should know the name of every general who fought in every war and who won. I think that it would give people a perspective on you know exactly how much gratitude they ought to have for living in the world that they do. I mean,
They don't.
people
They
talk about the end of the world. I hear people always talk, oh, it's the end of the world. Everything seems the end of the world. Oh, okay, well, in 1358, 70% of France died in a year. Snap of the finger, they died. Can you imagine 70% of the people you've ever met and heard of dropping dead? And the world didn't stop. It didn't end. The human being continued. So maybe, you know, quit munching on black pills all the time and realize how much plenty and resource you have and use it to your advantage and stop bitching all the time. You have that ability. People made a lot more with a lot less than you have right now. That's all I'm saying.
Amen.
Yeah.
It might sound dumb, but like my dad had an electric wheelchair. Back
Look
in
at
the
that
day, my
bug.
dad wouldn't have had that. He wouldn't have had that.
Correct.
And in our time, he did. It made me more thankful, like that I could move around for sure. And they like it's very like we still have his chair in the garage, his electric chair, the last one he had, and it's a very like I want to punch it because he had to spend so much time in it. But then at the same time, I'm thankful for it because it allowed him a mobility he would have never had before without it. And that's a huge blessing. And people, yeah, I mean, they man, if I could go on a tangent about people not appreciating shit. Oh my God.
Yeah, no, that's real. And people
Yeah,
people would be
aren't
so much
grateful for
happier.
shit.
You're just so much happier when you just remember that, like, whatever the worst case is. Like, my favorite is traffic because Duke is bad in traffic. Duke will just holler and like he is a very Christian man, but that leaves as soon as he gets behind the wheel and
That's his Podvig.
Yes, that's his Podvig. Yes.
Do you know the Podvig?
It's like your isn't that like a crutch or like your not a crutch,
well, sort of. It's your It's the Russian idea that everybody has a struggle in their life. For some people, it's their mother-in-law. For Duke, it's traffic. That's just that's his
thing. And it is. And from the moment I met him, I was like, they can't hear you. They can't hear you, and they're not. And you can yell at them all you want, and it's not gonna make them stop.
It feels so good to yell at. It just feels so good.
Yes, and I realized that I was like, this is his because he never yells at me, and he never gets frustrated with me ever. Whenever I sometimes probably deserve to get frustrated with, and like, but like. He directs it at traffic, and so but I'm always like, we could not have a car or roads, my roads, or my roads. We could, I mean, I'm just saying, like this would be a lot more frustrating if it was a horse and buggy. And
I try to tell
and hot
because he'll get very like the light screen fucking go, and after like not just my mom died, but we lost like so many people in a year and a half. Like we were going to a funeral once or twice a month, and I'm like, listen, you don't know what these people are going through. They could have just lost somebody. They could like you have no idea what they like why this person isn't paying attention right in this moment that the light turned green. Like you never know. I mean, he still gets a little frustrated, but he's a little better.
No forgiveness. I have no forgiveness. I have no forgiveness.
Neither does Duke, man. Neither does Duke. And it's
I was telling him in the Rumble chat, I'm like, I'm an efficient driver. I want to spend the least amount of time on the road as I can. So that means I'm not dilly-dallying, and I'm not dangerous, but I'm like, let's get through. Like when there's a left-hand turn light and the line's long and it's taking a couple to get through, and then people at the front, they just go slow. I'm like, did you not just wait for 3 times? Like, go. But I know it's me. I've definitely
they're just so excited to finally be in the intersection that they want to spend as much time in there as possible or something. Yeah.
It's so bizarre. I'm like, just go. Like, let's all be efficient because it helps. I think. And then I'm like, oh, it's because I'm trying to help everyone behind me too. Because I'm like so super helpful. Anyways.
Hey, I got a new sticker, y'all, and I'm so proud of it. I'm like really, really proud of it. And I think everyone on here will remember the time when this was like huge, right?
What does it say?
Jesus is my homeboy.
You guys remember? Do you guys remember this on t-shirts and stuff? I had this t-shirt from Gadzooks. Yeah.
Goodness.
Yes. Yeah. I just brought y'all back. Yeah.
Hey, Kamikaze and YouTube. Sorry.
I found that one. Oh, hey, Kamikaze. Man, it's been so long since we've done this. I feel like I've missed everybody. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh. I became 13 again. Wearing Jesus is my homeboy shirts while I'm smoking weed outside of the youth thing. Now I lead youth. Now I lead Christian youths, which is really funny.
So there are passages right about like wine. God created wine to make men's hearts glad, and it's not as though using substances in it of itself is an anathema. It's just the abuse of them, as you were saying, and you so beautifully articulated, when it becomes a passion, as we call it. And that's when, of course, and a passion could be anything. Gosh, people have passions about things that we don't even consider to be, necessarily negative. Like I was talking about the knitting groups, people just being absolute fucking monsters in a group about knitting. And, that's become their passion. But I think in it of itself, they do have those effects for a reason, and they can be medicinal. Some people do use them for their, their glaucomas and their whatnot. So, I think the what is it? I hate to say the libertarian position, especially since I don't consider myself one for many, many moons now.
You can talk shit on it.
Yeah. But that the idea should be that everybody's as an adult can make their own decisions, even unto their own demise. What they'll do with those sorts of things. So much so that the benefits that they offer to people who use them properly exceed that which might be used inappropriately. I'm for mass legalization of everything. And then we can have different conversations after mass legalization about how we deal with people who become passionate about their usage.
Yeah, no, I think everyone here agrees that like everything, mass legalization for sure. Like I mean, weed is medicinally legal in Florida.
I wish it was here.
I've got people in my.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've got people in my life with medical cards that could easily go. You know what I mean? Like just because. I mean, I could get a medical card if I wanted one. I check all kind of boxes, but like, just because it's there doesn't make me want to go get it.
What is that? All things are lawful for me, but not all things are good for me. Yeah. Which is to say that, like, there are people who can, and so it's like this important step, this recognition as okay, do I want to go forward? With this as part of my medicinal repertoire, so to speak, because maybe you drink herbal tea to get to sleep, and that's still quite in the same vein using a substance. So, but you're not passionate about herbal tea. So, we've just recognized that these things were put here for our use and that we should be intelligent with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I think I think mushrooms have a medicinal use. I think ketamine
Oh,
has a
for
medicinal
sure.
use. Like I think MDMA would be phenomenal. Like I believe in the benefits of it. I believe God gave men the brain in order to put this stuff together to make it
Mm.
so that it could be used for good.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't I do firmly believe that. I don't think that I know God is good and he is for good and he can only be good. So therefore he wouldn't, he trusts us with our free will
Mm.
to be able
Mm-hmm.
to recognize when it's for good and when it's not. But
Right.
ultimately
Right.
that is between you, your spirit and your will, and that's, and I've known people that had a few drinks and they were like, I'm never drinking again. They didn't have to hit a rock bottom. They just were like, this is not for me. This is not
It
for me. And like,
it reminds me a lot of there's a Romanian monk. I think he's reposed now, but his name is Raphael Noeca. And I wouldn't know how to tell you how to spell that, but he was talking about fasting, which is different parts of the year we don't eat meat, basically. Uh, Essentially, what he was saying, at first you restrict the thing that gives your body pleasure because you trust the church and you love God, and the church and God has told you this thing is not good for you. Do it less. And I'm sort of like using substance abuse as a stand-in in this circumstance. So you after that though, there's another level. There's something else that happens. It's when you've started to reach for sobriety with your own freedom and your own will. The only spring You can only springboard from there into eternal things. You can only be reaching for God then, because you have cleared the things that are comforting your flesh. And when you discomfort your flesh, you raise up your spirit. And so there are so many instances in the scripture where demons have been cast out of people by fasting and prayer. This one only comes out by fasting and prayer. And so
100.
there's a great deal of spiritual growth to be had in doing something so hard as denying your flesh. And so even though we have these tools, and I consider them tools, things like, you know, wine to make men's hearts glad, the pain relieving effects and the gastroenterological effects of marijuana, all of those things, they're tools for us, yes. And at the same time, when you struggle in sobriety, you are you have that's another tool as well. So you can relieve your pain or you can explore your pain, and doesn't that tell us that pain is this amazing tool that we've been given to grow spiritually with?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's a gargantuan thought as well that I
Absolutely.
don't.
Absolutely.
Right.
And suffering is we live in a society that will tell you that suffering is bad. And if you
Mm,
feel pain or if you feel discomfort, you need to remedy that
mhm,
immediately with
mhm.
something. Whereas
Yeah,
pain,
you can
and
sit in it. You can sit in it. You can sit in it and experience it and feel
exactly.
it. Yeah.
And
You
go ahead,
Well,
Jessica. Yeah.
and you
it's a,
can so
it's
there
a,
was another
sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Alice. Please go
No,
ahead.
I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
So there's another saint I'll reference now, Saint Sophrony, who said, stand at the abyss for as long as you can. And when you can take no more, step back and have a cup of tea.
I love that.
So resistance, there's resisting your temptations, there's spiritual growth, there's sobriety, there's those things. And when you can stand no more, you step back and you have a cup of tea.
Yes.
You're a human being. My God, live as a human. Give yourself grace. Give yourself the grace that you want to give to others. You got to give that to yourself as well. Forgiveness is not just you forgive people for doing things wrong to you. Forgiveness is you forgive you for all the ways you
Forgive yourself. Yeah.
might have screwed up. You know what? You screwed up, kid. You weren't a saint, it turns out, and that's
Right.
okay. Get back up. They
Yes.
asked the monks at Mount Athos, what are you doing there? Will you pray 24 hours a day? What are you doing up at the monastery up there? What do you do? And the monks said, we fall down and then we get back up again. and then we fall down again, and then we get back up again. And he continued like this for some time, I think, until the interviewer got annoyed and maybe walked away. But
right.
that's the essence of theosis. That's the essence of the reach toward God is you can't do it on your own, baby. And that's okay. It's okay that you need a lift up. Take it.
Did you guys know, this is totally random, but Janis Joplin, she almost died twice before she even got famous because she was so self-destructive with drugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's how humans are, man. We're just like, I kind of didn't really notice that. And then when COVID happened and I started getting into my problems, I was like, oh shit. Like, wow, yeah. Like, you just kind of.
I'm not a drinker, and I was day drinking all through that beginning part of COVID. It was the middle of the day. I was hammered. I was like, this is not.
Girl, you just made me feel so good about myself.
Shit. I don't even drink. Like,
I felt bad that on Saturday nights, being home with a kid, like everything was closed. Everything was closed. Like people were like, you should just go about and live your life. And I'm like, well, I can't if it's fucking closed. So we're just home constantly. My husband was still able to work, and we were just home constantly. So come Saturday night, the kids would play in the yard. We would start drinking, and before I knew it, I could down 12 packs like they were nothing. Now, granted, they were Bud Light, so it wasn't anything crazy heavy. But years ago, I could have never downed a 12 pack of Bud Light. But I was so goddamn bored.
I used to have
everyone else.
Now it's. I still enjoy my Bud Lights. I'm not gonna lie, but now there's things we can do and look forward to. Like we go to Cedar Point all the time with the kids, and we take, our freaking playgrounds open again, which we don't take the kids to a ton, but it is a nice thing to get away. But it was like even the parking areas where you would park your car to go walk through the park, they were closed. There was caution tape. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, how is this helping people by making them stay in the house and do nothing all day?
It wasn't. It was planned. That was on purpose. They knew what they were doing. They did that on purpose to make people miserable.
There's somebody
I'm
in the
not
chat.
saying I was miserable home with my kids. I'm not saying that, but I love being home with my kids. We have a big yard. We had a lot to do. I really feel for parents in my area who were in apartments.
But it's your choice then. They made it not your choice. That was the whole thing.
Yeah. And I mean, we couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go to the zoo. Couldn't go to Cedar Point, obviously. Well, Cedar Point did open, but with all these restrictions and I
don't know how it wasn't a huge moment for people when a guy who was paddleboarding by himself out in the ocean got arrested under COVID restrictions. And that was the moment I started looking around me and noticing like the people I know would sell me out to the man if they thought I was breaking the rules. And that's a hard reality to confront because you think everybody's like cool and people wouldn't rat you out like that. And no,
totally rat you out. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody. There was a question in the
used to get mad. She's like, look at all these people out here barbecuing. And she was a big time Trumper too. And she was still like, look at these people out here barbecuing. Yep. This is why it's never gonna end. And I'm like, holy married mother of God, the best thing for you is being outside. When my dad was sick my whole life. If he got a cold hit my dad harder than other people. One of the things they said to do for him in the winter was crack windows in other rooms so fresh air would get circulated because craziest thing, fresh air is good for you. When my daughter was sick, I was like, oh, I guess we can't take her to this. And the nurse was like, no, take her. Like fresh air is the best thing for her. That's the best thing you can give to somebody is fresh air. And they were like, lock yourselves in the house and just die there, I guess, is what they wanted us to do.
And I know I talk about the medieval era a lot, but when it comes to COVID, we ran the plague playbook. We really did. We had miasma theory, which is that the air is evil, and that if you were in places where, evil airs were, you would get the plague. And then the other thing that they did that we ran the playbook for is locking in. When somebody was thought to have plague or an area was thought to like be a risk or whatever, they would lock people in their houses. They did a lot like China did, where they would actually like seal people up in their homes. And they think thousands and thousands more people died than necessarily needed to die through this practice of locking in. And I'm like, wow, that's so familiar. So as I'm watching my own government, my own society run through this thing that like I've been studying since childhood, I'm like, this is the plague. We're running the plague playbook. And absolutely no one is listening to me, but we did it. We did it all the same way. And we probably lost people we didn't need to. And I'm talking about people in nursing homes and, people recovering from COVID were sent to where? To nursing homes where old people are? Aren't old people the people that are,
and they won Emmys for doing that. And they won an Emmy, like the guy in New York. He won an Emmy for doing that. And you won't tell me, we're all kind of conspiracy minded here a little bit, right? You cannot tell me that they did not do that to boost the death numbers, to scare people more, because they had all those hospitals. We had a hospital here in Colorado. We never even needed it anyways, but like everyone had these actual hospitals for the COVID stuff, and they sent them back to the sick where they knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
And we have a guy in the FMU, Squirrel. He was in Long Island during all this, and he was working in the elderly facilities in Long Island during this. And he's like, what the heck? Because he was going around with the iPads with the fam, because they wouldn't let. That is a crime against humanity, not letting family in. That was a crime against humanity. People should have got yeeted for that, in my opinion.
Friends of ours, very close friends of ours at church, his father ended up in the hospital with COVID, and he was elderly, and he ended up dying there, and he had to say goodbye to his family on an iPad. And the monstrosity of that and the effect that it had on those people, her children, or I guess it's technically the dad, but their children were very close with their grandpa, and they never got to say goodbye. He was in their lives one day and he was vanished and gone the next, because they weren't going to let those kids say goodbye to their grandfather on a freaking screen. Like, it's just,
they're going to die anyway. There's people in hospice. Who cares if you're going in there sick? They're on hospice. Who cares? Yeah. And you weren't sick. Madness. Like you said, the air was how they made people believe. That was the most psychological crappy thing about the mask, was convincing people that they were sick 24/7 and they could just get people sick just breathing. And it was like, no, no. And I was showing video from February 2020 where Mr. Fauci was like, asymptomatics never drive a pandemic. They said all this stuff. They said it all. They put it all out there. We all, because we're all very smart, we all saw what was happening during that time. Like the flip-flops on the mat, like it was all, and they think they're so justified. And now we're supposed to move on. And Trump, hey, Trump's a good guy now, even though it's so crazy. That's why I'm like so focused local, because I'm like, I can't anymore. I'm just like, I just want to tear shit down. So I'm doing it how I can do it. That's all.
The institutions are so rotten. They're rotten from the core out. I don't know any other way other than for them to be totally eradicated and to start from scratch. I don't see any other way. And I don't want that to be violent necessarily. I mean,
no, I do.
I'm willing to do that peacefully. If you guys want to quit, that's fine. I mean,
they didn't even say, they're not even saying it. Even Trump is not saying, hey, well, like I pushed the vaccine, I put in the emergency orders, I argued with all, like they're not even saying it. My governor got back in, the Michigan governor, all these terrible governors got back in. They never mentioned it even during their thing. And now my governor's saying he's a libertarian. So now I'm like so focused on these people, because I'm like, this was a crime against humanity. And I am doing this for other people's kids. I'm doing this for everybody else, because this is my last push in life, because I've lived such a good fucking life. I've loved my life. And now it's like, these people need to be fucking stopped. They need to be fucking stopped somehow. And will it happen? I don't know, but I gotta try.
I'll tell you what, I hear a lot of people talk about there being a pendulum swing. Like, oh, things have gone so far, there has to be a pendulum swing sometime, right? I think you're fools to think that. I think you're fools to think that somehow magically some pendulum will swing back the other way. It's not going to happen unless an individual person pushes it. The only action happens with the individual. There is no other type of action. So unless you yourself are pushing back on things, you're not going to. I myself recognized very sharply how I failed to push back recently. A friend of mine I interviewed, I had a short-lived podcast that I made like 6 episodes of before Cam invited me to be co-host with him on the Mad Ones. And in this one of those episodes, I interviewed a friend of mine about, and I won't name her name, but I interviewed her about gender and hormones being given to children back in 2020. This was before this became like the really massive discussion that it is now. And she at the time said on that podcast, no, I don't believe that hormones should be given to children. Well, she contacted me recently, less than a week ago, to ask me, oh my gosh, I'm about to go live with my academic work. Could you please take down this episode where I say that I don't believe that hormones should be given to children? Now, my friend has worked very hard over the last 6 or so years to, obtain the position in whatever academic area she's in. And I'm not going to torpedo that for her. I did take it down for her. That was her wish, and I took it down for her. And I thought about it later, and it started to ebb at me, and it started to eat at me. In this way, I allowed this very quiet subversion of the truth, where just 3 short years ago, this person, this leftist academic, blue-haired liberal girl, felt very comfortable saying, I don't think we should give hormones to children. And now she has to take that down for fear of her academic work being torpedoed. And I allowed it. I didn't think too heavily about it. I was just trying to do my friend a favor. So I'm not going to beat myself up eternally about it. But I see, even in a person such as myself who is aware of the subversion of the truth, I very, very quietly allowed it to happen. And that's how it happens.
We're all guilty. We all are
quietly.
guilty in our
Yeah,
own.
we all
have our own. Yeah.
No, I mean, I've seen trans men in a bathroom.
I used to.
I should have, and I look back and I'm like,
what are you supposed to do?
But what? Right? I mean, like you,
that's your friend. A not passing one, a not even trying one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, not even trying.
No, this is it's a pedophile. There's a pedophile and a target.
Yeah.
Like
wait, I had a bunch of friends that a bunch of older, because I get along with middle-aged men really well. Middle-aged men who were like cross-dressers. Some of them are going further now that there was more technology and stuff. Like that was one of my biggest friends group. We would go dance, and I thought, like, I'm accepting you. And actually, some of them are still great people. Like my one cross-dresser friend, and he's very clearly, I'm a cross-dresser. I'm not a he, or I am a he. This is sexual for me. He votes Trump, but there was a lot of them where it was like, yeah, it's like was my acceptance, all of our little bits of acceptance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it will go
because you don't like if Blair White, that's the first one I could think of at the top of my head, walked into a bathroom.
You would never know.
I wouldn't even think anything of it.
Yeah.
I will say this: if you pay to have your cheekbones, go ahead.
I wouldn't think anything of it. But yes, there are trans men where I'm like, you are trying to be a predator towards children and young people, and I'm like never gonna be okay with that. Like I'm just not. Like the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing. Like I don't care what Dylan Mulvaney does. Like I really don't care. Like
I think Dylan is a victim of this circumstance, to be honest. I think he's a silly TikToker who's very campy and kind of got swept up.
Gay men and gay young boys that were convinced into this transitioning, and it's like, no, you're just gay and you should just love yourself being a gay man. That's just who you are. Like, but yeah, we've gone down a very weird road.
Weird road. I agree. I
Jessica, what are
agree.
we gonna say about the cheekbones? I want to hear this
I,
comment.
I think there's a hell of a that's a hell of a thing to have your cheekbones shaved down. That's not a painless
It's like
endeavor.
plastic
And if
surgery
you're
addiction. That's what a lot of this trans stuff is
Yeah.
plastic surgery addiction, which did you guys ever watch the show Botch? They would turn
Oh, yeah.
these people away. They would bring these people on and be like, oh, these people are crazy. And now I'm like,
So-
how are they not getting canceled?
there's gender
Well, there
dysphoria,
was a lot of them
dysmorphia.
too that they were like, "What the flying fuck happened to you?" Like, and it's
So
sad.
the
Like, I
desire
just
to
want
alter your
people to love
appearance.
themselves.
The desire to alter your appearance is this like dysphoria, right? Where the image that you want to see of yourself is different than what you see in the mirror. And there are people like, I don't know if you got, gosh, what are their names? I think they're called the Bogdanoff twins or the Bogdanoff twins. And they're these French physicist brothers. And the only reason that anybody recognizes them now is because they've gotten so much face altering plastic surgery that they don't even look human anymore. And so I think that you can have like genital dysphoria, but you can also have it in your face. And then you just have the kind of money that it takes to keep going with it until you look like some kind of, I don't know, mannequin or doll or some sort of not real human version of yourself.
And even
And that,
with women with breast implants will kill themselves more often because it's a dysphoria. You're
Mhm.
changing the outside, you're not fixing the inside, right? Like it really,
But we
I
have
feel
people.
like plastic surgeons push this stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sure. And that's why I think that like young girls are having these mastectomies done. It's not something that people of lesser means can do. You have to have a lot of money. Insurance doesn't cover this stuff. And so, why wouldn't a doctor go balls in all the way on telling people that, oh, all of your eating disorders and your depression and everything that you feel is wrong with you is actually wrong because you're a girl. And that if you cut your breasts off of your body, all of those things will magically dry up and you'll feel better about yourself. And boy, doesn't Elliot Page look happy now. And,
So sad.
I think
So
there's something
sad.
deeply sexist in saying that a young girl's nascent identity not necessarily being feminine means that she's actually male.
That's disgusting.
And
Yeah,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
no,
Not
you can
being
finish. You can
super
finish your
feminine.
thought, Jessica.
Okay. I was not feminine when I was young. When I was a teenager, when I was in my early 20s, I was raised by a man and he was not a great respecter of women, so neither was I. And it took me into my 30s to learn to appreciate myself as a feminine woman, a female. I had a big white wedding. And if I had been born 20 years later, they would have strapped me to a table and removed healthy parts of tissue off of my body. There are plenty of people who believe distorted images of themselves. There are people who believe that they are Napoleon. There are no other circumstances in our society where we take a person with a disparate mental belief and we affirm it. And we say, yes, you are Napoleon Bonaparte. Here's your tri-corner hat. Are we joking? This is a joke.
Yeah,
It
and
feels like a joke.
I do think there's trans people that, like with Blair White, people were like, "Why did you never get the bottom surgery?" I don't know if she ever answered it.
She hasn't.
Those
Why would
people
you?
could-
If you have a
But
penis,
then-
these
but at the end
penises
of the
are
day,
awesome. I
like,
wish I had a
her
fucking penis. I
choice,
wouldn't get rid of it.
and she's fucking
Just
happy.
saying.
And then who's that other? Who is the trans man that used to do porn?
Buck Angel.
Yeah, he never had the bottom surgery. Like, I don't understand all this stuff, but I do understand that body dysmorphia happens.
Mm.
But what really bothers me is it happens so much in young girls. Because, like, our bodies develop in in a very different way. Like, suddenly we start having boobs that we didn't have before.
And your male friends start treating you differently.
Yeah, people start treating you differently and you become uncomfortable in your own skin. And
Yeah, I
think
never
we should-
felt that. I never had that happen. Just that way.
I did. I'll never
And-
forget going to the fair, and I had developed over the summer, and all my guy friends treated me totally differently
Yep.
than they did before I developed. So
I always got made fun of. I got made fun of. They would make fun of my flat chest in 8th grade, which like, I mean, I still have flat chest, but like if I was nowadays, if I was growing up now, I would go to it. If I was sad and went to a teacher, they'd be like, well, maybe you are a boy, you know? And I've said this story
Right.
before. I grew up rural. I was a tomboy running around the forest all the time. Like I asked my mom, like, I want a boy hair. I always had a boy. I said, give me a boy haircut. She never once, because bless my mother, never once, and this wasn't a thing back then. She wasn't a white liberal crazy woman. She never said, "Oh, maybe you're a boy." Like, that was never part of the
that's not a thing.
conversation.
Yeah. It used to be in this country that it was recognized that some people were gender dysphoric, but it took 12 years of psychotherapy to even begin to have the conversation about having a sex change operation.
Exactly.
And now we have self-ID, and anybody who can pay for it can have their cheekbones shaved down. And now Dylan Mulvaney, who might be going through some kind of psychotic break during this period of his life, has now permanently altered his body instead of spending the requisite amount of time in psychotherapy that maybe you ought to have. And Dylan, neither here nor there. It's more an effect of we as adults can conceptualize the idea of a male who dresses as a female. He's not female. He feels better going about in the world like that, and he's not hurting anybody. Okay, fine. I don't think that there's anybody here who necessarily has a problem with that. What I have a problem with is telling children who can't differentiate between reality and not reality that no, in actuality, your brain is female, but your body's male. All of these things that are just sort of like this new idea that they've just come up with. It's not necessarily something we've accepted as scientific fact. And they're telling people who can't differentiate reality from non-reality that it is true.
The kids should be playing make-believe. They should be kids. Why are we talking to kids about gender? I learned about if someone talks to you about that stuff, it makes you uncomfortable. You tell another adult.
Why.
And now
you know why they're talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we know now we're like they're literally talking. Like can you imagine being in a classroom and having a teacher like, oh, do you have more? Because that genderbread man or the gender unicorn, I don't know if you ever seen that, where it's like, oh, if you're a little bit more hairy, maybe you're a boy. I'm like, there's a talent. Like my whole I'm the only blonde in my entire family. My nieces have like beards. Why would you say this to these children?
As a woman of Mediterranean heritage, I have to say whoa and back the fuck up because
exactly. Yeah. So
and the thing that they claim is womanhood.
It's more binary than everybody else would accept some of this stuff anyways. If you're going to just dress like it or whatever, we don't care. But they're more binary. They're the binary people, and it only benefits the freaking medical industry. It's crazy.
And while I'm on the rant, and while I have the platform, because I'm so rarely on a podcast these days, I will say that the version of womanhood that is chosen by men when they're representing themselves as women is often quite insulting to me. Because I don't think lipstick is womanhood. I don't think high heels are womanhood. I think dresses is womanhood. And so when you say, I feel like a woman, and in order to feel like a woman, I need to wear lipstick, high heels, and dresses. And I'm sitting here going, so first of all, no, you don't feel like a woman because you have no idea what that means because you're a man. Secondly, I don't wear high heels. I don't wear lipstick. I don't wear dresses. And I am a woman. Absolutely. What part of lipstick makes you a woman?
Right.
Okay. If we want to declare lipstick to be non-gendered, fine. Let's do that. Let's not declare that men who wear it are women. End rant.
Yeah. So, that's what I was going to touch on. That's
the only reason Scar wants to see you in Colorado is so she can try on all your shoes. That's her big thing. She's like, we're going to see Jess in Colorado. I want to look at all her shoes. And I'm like, really?
The trappings of femininity are not negative. I'm not pointing them out as
and I'm the same as you. I didn't start wearing Go ahead. You go ahead, CD. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it doesn't make you a woman, and you can fuck off. You can fuck
Yeah.
the fuck. If that makes me a transphobe, then I'm a transphobe because you can fuck the fuck off with that shit. You are not you. That does not make you a woman, and I refuse to affirm that shit because you think that's what it is to be a woman. But because you are a man, you can never conceive of that. And you will never be able to conceive of that, no matter how many pairs of heels you have, no matter how much lipstick you put on. And that is also why, and this is why they'll call me a transphobe. That's why I see a trans person and I cannot help but think, one, you're mentally ill and you need help. You need real help. And I pray for your soul because you are confused. You're terribly confused and you are hurt. You're hurt. Something hurt you and you need help to deal with that. But the lipstick and the heels and the dresses are not going to fix that.
No,
There are
and that's why I always
go ahead.
That's why I always understood the cross-dressing aspect, because when I put these things on, I feel sexy, right? So that's why I kind of understand how these men, like, they just feel sexy in it. But when they stop at that, that's whatever. Do whatever you're gonna do. It's fine,
That's fine.
right? But they've like now we're in this whole new crazy world.
But let's call reality reality and non-reality non-reality. We shouldn't affirm what is mental illness, because there are people with body dysmorphia of their hand, and they desperately feel that their hand does not belong in their body. And surgeons will not remove a hand, a healthy, perfectly hand. These people are often forced to lay down on train tracks and things of this nature in order to get their hand smashed up enough to get it cut off. This is what body dysmorphia is. It's a horrible illness, and I feel great empathy for anybody who's experiencing it, but never in the history of medical science has a doctor cut off a healthy limb in order to please somebody with dysphoria, in order to comfort them. It's just not done.
Especially on a child. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, but it's not happening, guys. It's not happening on anyone.
They can kiss my whole asshole. Fuck them and fuck them. No, it absolutely does happen to children. They take little girls' boobs. They don't even have them developed yet. Girls don't even have a period yet, and their boobs are missing. That is that's Mengele.
And just the blockers.
Mengele. It is happening.
What's up with the blockers? Why would you stop your normal human body from doing something so natural when you're young? Like they're so psychotic.
When you hear that,
grow up. Just let kids grow. Give them the privacy to grow. That's one of the things I love about homeschooling is my children are able to go through whatever phases they need to go through as children. They can go through in the privacy of their own home and not be forced to think that they're this or they're that. Like, there were people that would call me a lesbian because I got along with guys better. And I'm like, I don't like shopping that much.
Yeah, I got
and
that
I like
too.
football and wrestling. Like, sorry.
Which proves that interests don't make your gender.
No, like I look at my son. My son he's all boy. He's so all boy, but he has nurturing parts of him, where he wants to take care of things. And there's moments where he'll want to do things like mommy does things, and that's fine. But he naturally gravitates towards his dad. Like, he just naturally does. And my daughter, okay, I'll never forget standing in line to get my daughter this princess table at Kohl's. We used to go Black Friday shopping when it was actually Black Friday. And this lady was like, oh, my granddaughter enjoys boy things. She doesn't like all that girly stuff. And I'm like, yeah. Well, my daughter digs for worms, but she does it in a tutu. Like, what's it to you, lady? It's like everything has to be one way or the other. Like,
what a weird brag, too.
My daughter can be a total fashionista, but she has boyish tendencies, and that's okay. I was the same way. It's okay if you're not a girly girl. It's okay if you're not a man's man. Well, my son's definitely a man's man. He's going to beat people up for sure when he gets older. Like, not that that's a man's man. I'm not saying that.
No. But I think what you were saying about him being nurturing, I think men are naturally nurturing. And there's some toxic.
It's not like women but
Right.
it's there. It is
Or
there.
they want to take care of, like, I've noticed with men, like, if you tell a woman that you're not feeling well, they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, that sucks." If you tell a man you're not feeling well, they'll say, "Oh, can I get you an aspirin? Can I," they'll
Yeah.
start trying to solve the
Fix.
problem.
They want to
So
fix it.
they want to fix. And so I think the way that men care is different than the way that women care. And so we sometimes can think of them as not being nurturing, but they just sort of have a different way of doing it. And man, can they not read the room sometimes. But
But overall,
but yeah, I do think that it is nurturing is a natural quality of men too.
It is.
I think
It
it's not
It
binary. I don't think
doesn't
it's
come
binary.
in the same
yeah.
way as girls.
Yeah,
That's for
it
sure.
shouldn't be. I think teaching kids to think binary ways is how you keep
Yes.
a society divisive. It
Yep.
is a tool to keep society thinking it is either this way or it is this way. There is no
And you're
gray
wrong.
area.
And you're wrong
And
if
you're
you're
wrong,
not on
right?
one
If you're
side or the
not
other.
right, you're wrong.
Well, we used to have the freedom to be wrong. It used to be that the mind was a garden and you could wander it and spend time with different ideas, and you weren't going to hold on to them forever. And now they'll pull up a tweet from when you were 14 years old and used a slur or said something wrong, and they'll pull that out and say this is your entire ideology because you said it once. And that's just there's no freedom. There is no freedom of thought anymore. You have to be right or you have to be wrong. And
Right.
if you're wrong, God help you.
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
you're
Did you guys see
you're
that
pulling
post
off.
today? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say you're pulling videos off from 3 years ago saying something because it could literally end your
And
career.
I
Go
stand
ahead.
by everything I've ever said, ever. I stand by it all.
even when I was hammered, if I said some off collar shit when I was hammered, I stand by it. I don't care. It's fine. It's whatever.
Go ahead, FM. What were you
That's
gonna
the
say?
and oh David. Oh, go
No,
ahead. I'm sorry.
no, 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 no.
It'll be
David,
quick.
what?
There was a post I saw someone posted of who played Wizard of Oz. What's her name?
Judy.
Judy
Garland?
Garland. So
Garland?
she
Yeah.
played
That
a
sounds right.
blackface. She played a blackface character when she was even younger before
Did
that.
she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so all these people are like, "Oh, this bit," and I'm like, "She's fucking dead." Like, what the
Oh, I'm gonna
and
find
it
that
was
right
like,
now.
A, she was forced to do it. B, that was the culture. C, like, what are you trying to do? Like, is there not enough wrong in the world today that you gotta go digging that shit up? It's
Yeah,
so
it's pathetic.
stupid.
It's so pathetic.
I don't
It's
fucking
so
apologize
pathetic.
to anyone. Like, when I got blamed for like
Yes, ma'am.
child porn
Yes,
and all
ma'am.
this stuff. Did you see it?
Yes, ma'am. That's real.
But I guess
That's
it's a
real.
good song. I guess she sings a pretty good song with this. But she didn't know. And she was in the abusive, like they were controlling her back then, and she didn't know. You don't know these things. Like,
It wasn't racist back then.
no.
It wasn't a race thing. It was a character in a
She
show.
doesn't even look like a person.
No, she doesn't. No.
No,
That don't
yeah,
make
never
it
apologize. Like, you can say, I said that, and that was probably wrong at the time, but you never, I don't fucking bend my knees to shit. Like, fuck all these people. I'm not gonna, no. Like, I know my life. I know me. Don't fucking come after me with this stuff because I know myself. So, blow up.
Okay, so David Letterman cheated on his wife sometime in the 90s, and somebody found
Mhm.
out about it and tried to blackmail him.
Mhm.
And instead of being blackmailed about it, he went on his show that night and was like, "Yo, I cheated on my wife." Next day, they were asking his wife, "Hey, what do you think about that?" She's like, "Yo, I'm married to David Letterman. I don't care what." And I was like, "That's exactly how you handle it. You lean into it. They can't anything that you embrace, they can't use against you as a weapon. So if you know yourself and you're aware of yourself, even the self-deprecating stuff, even the negative stuff, all the sparklers of life, they can never use them as weapons against you
Yeah,
because
and
you
I'll be
leaned
like, why do
into
you
it.
have that on your phone? Why do you have that sexy picture of me on your phone? So
Oh,
like,
I have it on my phone.
I know, but
I
like people
definitely
are
have it
gonna
on mine.
attack me. If they're gonna attack me with it, I'll be like, does your wife know you have those pictures on your phone? Like,
Right.
I just flip it.
Right, exactly. You're gonna be
Yeah.
mad about a legendary internet meme? Like that's your life where you're mad about
Yeah.
that? Like there are children in Africa dying of something and you're mad
And
about
it never raised taxes. It wasn't in front of children. It wasn't like that's the thing. It's like nothing, and nothing I've done has been bad on other people's lives. It's all been,
Right.
what it
That's
is.
different. Right. It's
Yeah.
whenever it's the kids. And like, in the last few months, I don't care what party you belong. I don't care about parties anymore. It's like because the war machine's still gonna go,
That's
the
right.
printer's still gonna go burr. Like I'm all about like where do you fall on the kids? You know what I mean? Like how do you feel about this? Because I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about anything else. Like where do you fall on giving kids hormones, trans kids? Like if you aren't 110% anti that, because that's my politics. Like that's as
That's
far
why
as
the
my
GOP
politics
in my
go.
areas loves me because I'm like, and
Yeah.
because I don't have kids. I'm not one of these weirdo teachers who doesn't have kids who's trying to like make the kids their kids kind of thing. I'm totally opposite. I'm like, get the fuck away from other people's kids.
Yeah, dude. And like I was a person that like really cheered on like gay marriage in 2012. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't believe in the slippery slope. I was like, no, it's fine. Those people like they should be like they should have the same things we have, like blah blah blah. And like now I'm like, no, I'm a transphobe. Call me a transphobe. That's fine. I'm whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, because
transphobe though. That's a thing.
I'm not, but that's what they call me, and that's fine.
We're all
That's fine.
racist, bigots, white supremacists. We're all those things.
That's
I
fine.
don't even care anymore.
That's fine.
Call me that. I don't care.
Because I stand with children. I stand for children. I want to be a teacher so that I can be in the school system so that if I sniff this shit out, I will find it, I will expose it, and I will expose the person. I will call the person by name because fuck groomers. Fuck these people that think this is okay. Fuck this. So
And
like
I don't think there's never been another time in our society where it's been so thrown in your face. This like normalization. Like I think about 30 years ago, if they had tried to trot some of the stuff out that they're trying to normalize now, people would have lit them on fire. And you know, that just was the way of things. And so, you know, what happened? And I think
they were
about, you know,
abused. I think they were abused and their families didn't say shit. And then it kind of like cycled on. And now they're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
normal for this stuff, in my opinion.
something
And I
changed in the
think,
culture.
too, in the 80s and 90s, like, I mean, I grew up then, like, we were very accepting of gay people. We were accepting of, like, trans and stuff like that. And I think some people just, like, took it to a different level. You know, like, they can't think straight. And it's like, listen, like, I am not hating on you. Like, I just want you to let your kids grow up. And that's one of the biggest reasons I have so many reasons for homeschooling, but one of them is I want my kids to be able to grow up, go through all their phases and find themselves. I don't want this stuff. I don't want anything forced on them. Anything. I don't want religion forced on my children. I don't want anything forced on my children. I just want them to naturally grow up, which is so fucking fun and today.
Which is hard as it is. It's so hard as it is already. We all like it was hard on all of us, you know.
Yeah, I don't know, Jessica. I think about it often, like what changed, you know, because like pedophilia has been around for a long time, and I get that. Like I'm not. You've studied history. I've studied history. I know that.
Oh, we can talk about Athens and Greece if we need to. But
And
what I'm saying is, I think even then, I think nobody would have said that this is okay, this is normal, this is the way things should be. Right. And now we're having, let's normalize the map.
It was open in the old societies. It was fairly open. Like wasn't it pretty open?
So okay, there were like what's the word that I'm looking for? When you have like a blacksmith and then there's somebody who studies being a blacksmith. Apprentice. So in an apprenticeship relationship, oftentimes there would be a lot of like openly like sexual relationships. It was almost kind of expected that kind of thing did happen. And so to say necessarily that it was more open, people knew about that kind of thing, but their society was so sexually cloistered that anybody having sex outside of the confines of marriage was considered an anathema. So it wasn't talked about. And so what I'm sort of pointing out is I think that there is exactly the same level of pedophilia in society as there was then. Exactly the same. I think it happens way, way more often than people talk about.
It's a
what's
demon.
happened. What's happened that's different now, and the thing that I'm kind of pointing out that's different now is that the way that we talk about it in the open in a positive light. So not only are we saying, okay, it happened before, just nobody talked about it, and now we're talking about it now. We're also talking about it in a positive light as though it's normal and it should be happening. And that's also very different than it was in the past. Because at least then they weren't talking about it, but they weren't normalizing it either. And if somebody got like caught out doing that kind of thing, it was not okay for them.
Yeah. They were not, it wasn't accepted.
That's right. A lot of the kinks now too. Like I saw it in my life where the kinks went from a very private thing to everyone should know about it and accept it. Right. So I think like it's all kind of part of the same, because I saw that stuff change.
If you were a furry back in the old days, you kept that shit under your hat. You didn't tell normal people in society that you were a furry. They'd run you out of town on a rail, and probably rightly so, because I don't know if you guys have delved into furries at all, but those people have gotten banned from every single hotel that they've tried to throw a convention at because it has been a monster show every time.
It's just a little much. And I'm down with a lot of stuff, but it's a little much. Like, it's a little much.
Keep that shit under your hat. The degeneracy needs to go back under your hat.
Yeah, why can't that be the thing? Why can't that be the case? Like,
dude,
it's fine. It's fine.
Find degeneracy just fine.
Right. I don't know why.
They do not need to be guided into it.
And no one has to accept it. You can be into some weird shit. No one has to accept it. That's the whole thing I saw with like swinging and stuff was very conservative and secret. And then all of a sudden it was like, we're poly and everyone has to accept us and everyone has to know us. Like, I saw that shit change and I'm like, that's not even fun anymore. That's like the fun of it was the secret. Like, and I don't accept that. You're weird. Like, I know this shit.
And then there's the law of diminishing returns too, that once you've done something, it's sort of like not taboo anymore. And so you got to take it to the next level and you got to take it to the next level. And it's like anything else. Like, how far before you're willing to tell yourself no?
That's why all the people in charge, I know they're like that. They're as bad as we can imagine. Plus, because they have no boundaries and they've been able to do all this stuff for so long with no boundaries. So they are as bad as we think they are.
Absolutely.
Yep. They're probably into shit so bad that we can't imagine it because we just don't have that kind of access.
Yeah.
There are things, evil things that go on in this world that I don't want to know about, frankly.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I'm mad and I get upset that like I know about
I agree.
the things I do. Alice, what'd you say?
You'll be talking and then Alice just starts talking.
I'm sorry. Kamikaze said, but I'm also completely fine not knowing that you do that too. So, and I agree with you. Like, I hate it when people ask me about my sex life. I'm like, dude, that's none of your business.
Nope.
I was a Catholic schoolgirl, so I don't know how to talk. I like get blushy, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to talk about this at all.
Like
my dad is gonna see this one day.
if Ho Twitter and Trad Twitter ever joined forces, y'all would be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. That's another thing. That's my other thing is that like I have no problem with prostitution. Like if that's how you make your money, like that's fine.
I have a big problem with it.
But
morally or legally?
I'm getting personally,
morally, legally. I'm an anarchist. There shouldn't be a government.
Me too. That's where I'm getting at is that but when I see prostitutes platformed for being prostitutes, that's all you do. That's all you ever do is you are a prostitute. I got a big, I got off Twitter for like a week, pretty much because of the last whatever clip that was going around. I was like, I cannot condone this. I do not condone this. This shit is disgusting. I lead a flock of young teenage Christian girls who are told that because they don't look like a prostitute by the guy that they like, they're not hot. Can you imagine when we were kids, it was Paris Hilton. You know what I mean? And like these girls
I'm older than that.
Okay, whatever. I was a teenager, it was Paris Hilton.
It was
and
like Madonna and Debbie
But
Gibson.
okay,
Like,
but
I
again,
had,
not
Oh, Debbie Gibson.
not Debbie. Okay, good. There we go. Like I'm just saying, these demons, this legion, call it what it is. It's these demons who serve no purpose in society whatsoever, and they are somehow platformed. It's one thing when it's done on the street, one thing whenever it's done, in the shadows. Okay, I can't control that. I don't want to know about it. Whatever. But whenever it is literally in the hands of young men, and young teenage girls think that $300,000 a month is what they can do. I have a huge. This is degeneracy of society. This is it. This is it. So I
don't.
cannot.
we should be teaching women, and I get it's easy for me to sit here and say, because even with my dad being sick, my parents taught me like how you should treat the other sex. I learned from my mom how to treat her husband. I learned from my dad how to treat her husband. And I get that. And like with something we've dealt with recently, I'm like, I've said to Adam, like, look, this girl is trying to like search for male attention, but she doesn't understand that there is one male. There is one male that is trying to look at her like, you are my everything. Like, listen, I've gained so much weight in the past 9 months. My husband would rather look at me than look at any other woman in the world. It doesn't mean he doesn't find other women attractive. It doesn't mean that at all. But what so many young girls are missing is, you just want one guy to look at you like you are everything. Like, it doesn't matter that you have stretch marks. It doesn't matter your body isn't perfect. Like, I have the attention of one man and one man only. But there's so many young girls out there, especially now, that like they need the attention of all these men to make them feel beautiful.
I will say that
is so sad.
Go ahead, Jessica. Go ahead.
That's so sad to me.
I will say that there is this sort of like notion going around online, and maybe it's not new. Maybe it's been sort of forwarded by advertisers for a long time, that youth is something to be worshipped and glorified and felt proud of, because it's a character value to be young, when in fact you didn't do anything to be young. You just only existed on the planet for a certain amount of time. And I will tell you that you are going to spend the lion's share of your life older, past your breeding years. And so I highly recommend filling your brain and your life and your existence with things. And this isn't advice to anyone here. I think you all do this exceptionally. This sort of to the young girls who might be coming forward. That the notion that your value comes from your looks ends at a certain point. And then you have the rest of your life to live, which will be most of your life, the longest period of your life. And so fill that with something that edifies you, lifts you up, gives you a purpose and a sense of belonging in the world and doing something in the world, or interests that exists beyond your beauty, because that is brief. Nature's greatest green is gold, Robert Frost. It's her hardest hue to hold. You will only be beautiful for a short amount of time. So be something besides pretty. I'm begging you.
Yeah.
Please. Lord
Age
have mercy.
gracefully. Like
we have to. I'm gonna have to end it. You're fine.
Oh.
We're going 2 hours. This was great though. This was like super good.
So good.
We'll do this again. We'll have Jessica back on.
Yes, this was so fun, Jessica. So good to meet you. Thank you.
It was
coming.
really nice talking to y'all. Thank you for having me.
It's a good combo, right? Like, we're just like whatever. I love it.
I thought
It's
so.
real. And we're not like Earl Davis or any of these idiots out there.
Fuck that
like,
bitch. Fuck her. Fuck
I've
her.
had her
I'll tell her
blocked
to her
forever,
face.
and I
I'll
still
tell that bitch
fucking
to her
see her.
face.
She
Fuck
has
off.
bad hair. She has bad hair.
I don't care.
She
I
just
don't care about any
doesn't
of that.
wash it.
You know who
She
she
just
reminds
needs
me
to
of?
wash
And
it.
I don't mean to be mean. She reminds me of Wish.com Lydia. Lydia that used to be on Timcast. Like, I feel like they're kind of in the same, like they're kind of the same a little bit. Like
She's a
just
grifter. She's a
harsh.
grifter, and she grifts,
And
and
I
that's
don't,
all
I
it
don't
is.
want
And
my
she hates
girls.
herself.
I don't want my
Fuck her.
daughter growing up with the trad shit either. Like, as
No.
much as I
No.
don't want her growing up with the other side, I don't want her growing up with the trad shit. Like, I stay home with my kids. Like, I am not this little, like, oh, like, yes, husband, whatever you say. Like, I'll never disagree with you. And blah. No, fuck that.
If
Like,
I
It's
can
a
just
kink.
real quick break in here to say that there is a vision of biblical marriage that is being sold on Twitter that is absolute bullshit. And if you wanted to get an actual view on the actual traditional biblical view of marriage, you can go on YouTube and type in St. John Chrysostom homily on marriage. It was written
that was a
over
lot.
1,000 years ago. And this man wrote the most intensely beautiful homily on marriage that I've ever heard in my life. So if the Archbishop of Constantinople is not trad enough for you, then you can be TFO. Okay. And that homily has nothing to do with if you're a woman, you should be nothing but a subservient yes girl to anything that Mr. Man wants. That is the opposite of what you are called to do as part of a marriage, which is something of a monastic tonsure. So
You
do
made a post about
not.
that, right? Did you post this? Did you
I
post
did.
it?
I post that homily all the time. Every single time all of this trad stuff comes up, because the Eastern Orthodox Church comes out of the place that Christianity came out of. It comes out of Syria. It comes out of Damascus. It comes from these original places. And so there are writings, there are ancient writings that got thrown away by the Catholic Church and then subsequently by the American Protestant, European Protestant churches. They don't read back on these things. But this man wrote over 1,000 years ago, expounding on what it meant to be a wife and expounding on what it meant to be a husband in the biblical sense. And it is beautiful, and it has nothing to do with what these grifters are trying to sell you. This Bible-themed dom sex kink is not biblical marriage. And the truth of it is so much more beautiful and so much deeper. And please avail yourself of it, I beg you.
That's good. Alex, you want to do any plugs before we go? You guys doing your show this Friday?
So tomorrow night, put a fork in it. We will be back. We have a meet and Daniel coming on, and then next week Saint Michael and Kamikaze is coming on.
Oh, nice. That'll be fun.
Awesome.
CD, you got any plugs?
Oh, no. Just follow all these people. Go follow Jessica Green. She is that girl. Yes.
I am that
Go
bitch.
follow her. Yeah. Okay, cool. I was just didn't
Dude,
want to,
what have
cross
all your
a
names
line.
been? Flat boob Jessica.
I love
Every time someone makes fun of me, I just change my Twitter name to whatever they're making fun of me.
I love it.
Flat boobs was my one for a while. He said that I had flat boobs, which is crazy because I have like huge knockers, but like fine, whatever. Flat boobs, Jess.
That's what I've done. I've leaned into. I put all the negative stuff in my bio. Like I'm a nightmare lunatic. I'm dismaying. I'm all of it. I hate it.
My Twitter account is locked at the moment because it is it is not suitable for future employers. But come follow me. My follow count goes down by the day, and I'm honestly really watching it like hell yeah, I'm doing something right. So yeah, man, it's awesome. Yeah, so please come follow me. It's fun time. Go watch Alice's show, Put a Fork in It tomorrow. She's back. And then yeah, vote Force Mommy in Arvada, Colorado, District 4. Yes, with those guns, bitch. Yes. Yes.
You got anything, Jessica?
Oh no, I'm not doing shit right now. I've got nothing to plug. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Soup Canarchist, or if you want the spicy after hours account, it's Jessica the Green at Jessica the Green. So yeah, come find me.
I followed on whatever Jess sent us today. That's what I just followed you on.
Nice. Yeah. I just do a lot of shit posting. I'm building a website for my church right now, so I'm locked to my desk. And that invites me to be on Twitter too much. So enjoy that.
I'm on Twitter. That was part of my speech last night. I'm like, I'm on Twitter too much. I'm like, it may be a problem, but I call myself a Twitter analyst. I'm a volunteer Twitter analyst. Anyways, yeah, everyone knows me. Thanks everyone for the chat. There was a lot of fun chat going on. So I didn't say everything, but yeah, I think Mersh is probably streaming now if people want to go watch Mersh, but that's it, everybody. Love everybody. Thank you.